Can you do
Okay,
this
name
next
drop.
thing?
Who are we
Oh,
talking about?
I was waiting for you to do this. People that are truly the best at it, in my perspective, are the ones who are not on all the time, because
Yeah.
what you want to do is meet these people as your most organic self.
How many times have you been told you've got to network and just immediately felt your soul leave your body? I know it's not just me because a lot of you responded on our Instagram and TikTok pages that you feel the same way. You know, whether you're on set or in the rehearsal room or at the theater, there's this low-key panic, this pressure to be likable, be remembered, make a connection. But I feel as though most of us are going about it the wrong way. Networking doesn't have to be awkward, fake, or cringe. In fact, if it feels like networking, you're probably doing it wrong. In this episode, we're flipping the script. We're sharing real, honest ways that you can connect with directors, writers, casting directors, other actors without ever feeling like you're selling yourself. This episode is for actors who want real relationships, not just contacts in their phone. Let's get into it. The Working Actor NYC, that's Marissa Rosen.
That's Benjamin House.
This episode of The Working Actor NYC may contain profanity and some adult concepts, so please use your discretion.
I should just point out for our listeners and viewers that my beautiful Patrick Richwood is dealing with some family stuff, so we have a guest host here today. Marissa Rosen, welcome to The Working Actor NYC.
Thank you for having me.
Between the two of us, we probably have a few decades. Well, I have the decades of experience being a working actor. You got a decade.
Yeah, but when you're 12 or 80, who knows,
And can I brag on you a little bit? I don't even know if we're allowed to
Uh,
talk about this, but not only have you appeared on Broadway, but let me ask you something. When Cynthia Erivo was learning the material for Wicked, whose voice did she have in her ear holes, Marissa?
it was people's ear holes that you're looking at. It was pretty cool. No, we got to do some of the great demos for the Wicked movie, and Mr. Steven Schwartz wrote some brand new music that will be happening in the second movie that I didn't just tell you about. So,
I think
sorry,
that's
NDA.
no, at the moment, that's common knowledge. That's out there.
Okay, good.
Because it was the whole thing about whether or not Wicked was going to be nominated for Best Song. And they were like, we can't nominate you for Best Song because there's no original material in the movie. And everybody's like, well, wait for part 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't tell us what it is or anything about it. But I'm so excited.
Me too.
Today, we are going to talk about networking as it pertains and applies to working actors, particularly in New York City. I don't know. I have kind of a visceral reaction to the very word itself. Do you have the same thing?
See, I do, but I don't. It's the same way I feel about social media. It's just the approach to it. And I know it can be absolutely scary, but it's such a necessary, wonderful, and a necessary evil in this business.
Yeah.
So it doesn't strike me as it used to, because I have a handle on how I bring myself into the world of networking.
It's so interesting because I remember when I was in college, there was a guy I, did shows with and whatever. And I used to identify him as somebody who was really great at networking. It was just so easy for him to talk to people that he had never met before and to
Sure.
make them laugh and make a connection with them. And I would be standing, in the corner shivering, just watching him do it, going, wow, he's so good at that. And it sort of imprinted in my brain that networking is something that I'm bad at, like bad and wrong.
It can be so scary because we're in show business. So everything seems showy, but
Right.
truly the approach to networking, the people that are truly the best at it, in my perspective, are the ones who are not on all the time, because
Yeah.
what you want to do is meet these people as your most organic self, because what you want to do is bring them into your world in a full way, not just in
Right.
a hire me way. It's in a
Right.
hire me, invite me to your party, take me as your plus one, say hi to me on the street, talk about me with your mom. You know what I mean? There's just so many
Right.
facets of it versus just the scary, I'm in a room with a bunch of like Tony winners.
Right. And for a way, what shifted for me was like I can say I'm bad at networking, but what I can say is I'm really good at talking to people. I'm really good at building a relationship with somebody. So it was just sort of like a mind shift and a
Yeah.
reframe for me that sort of made me feel like, well, maybe networking, if I use that word, is scary. But if I reframed it as just building a connection, having a conversation with somebody, then it's way less terrifying to me.
Yeah. It's
Is there
exactly
a
the
trick?
same thing.
Exactly the same thing. Is there a trick to, being memorable without selling yourself like a highway hooker?
Uh, you read my memoirs. um, honestly, yes. I think, especially someone like you're such a kind, organic human being that when you approach the situation like you were just talking about it, that it is a normal conversation with a normal human being, whether their importance is higher or lower than the next person. I really feel like finding genuine connections. I also think listening is a huge
Yeah.
skill because a
Oh
lot
my
of the
God.
people that you speak to, if they're not actors and they're usually behind the scenes and they don't get to talk a lot and they don't get to
Right.
be in the spotlight. So they want to tell you things. And it's so weird. Like my best networking quality, which is also a quality that I love about myself in the real world, is being a good listener.
It really is that thing of sort of like listen more than you talk. And that's what actually makes you memorable, not the resume that you're trying to shove down their throat. You know what I mean?
Right.
And being like, this was super interesting to me because as I started moving through the world as a grown ass adult, I realized that a lot of people do not know how to have a conversation. And can I tell you this? It was something that was taught, literally taught to me in a workshop in high school. Exams were over, finals were over for the year or something. They had like a week of time to fill before the semester ended. I went to an all boys school, so they got us together with the equivalent year at an local all girls school, and we did this workshop about how to have a conversation with somebody that you've never met before, and I still use that skill today. And I just find so many people don't know how to do it.
That's amazing that they did that in your school. No one taught me how to talk to anybody. I don't know. It's an invaluable skill. I think exactly like you were saying, the showy, our resume is there already. If they want to know who we are, they'll check it out. But they want to
Right.
know who we are,
But the thing
and
is that we don't necessarily know a lot about them. So start from a place of being curious about who it is that you're talking to.
absolutely.
Be curious about the person you're talking to. Listen more than you talk and make people feel seen and appreciated, not pitched to, you know?
Yes, and I also think in this business, like a lot of the advice that I give to clients that I coach is know who is in your business. Know these heavy hitters. Know your casting directors. Know your musical theater royalty. Know these people, but then also know people that are kind of behind the scenes. You're not going to get to know everybody. I've never been in a situation where I'm like, oh, I knew the eighth stage manager for the Hamilton tour, like unless I've met them, but just being
Right.
very aware of faces. We live in a world of social media. You're going to see people's faces over and over again. Just clock it sometimes and be like, I see that person a lot. What's their name? Because more
Right.
often than not, you're going to meet them and you can be like, hey, I know this thing you did, or you're so recognizable. You're friends with my friend so and so. Because the commonalities are the things that bring you together. The people that you
Right.
know, the shows you've seen, the shows you've done, where you grew up, those kinds of little
Oh my
things
God.
are going to be the little connections that are going to help it stick.
Is networking, can we just reframe it? Can we call it something else? Can we just
Yeah,
like say building connections?
great.
Is building connections something that you're conscious of in each different situation that you go into, or are there environments where you like, this is not the place and the time?
I'd say probably a good 50-50. I think that every time you meet someone, it's a cool chance to, make a new friend, whether they're, important in our business or just a regular human being.
Oh my God, I feel like this is going to come up a lot. It's like, you don't know who's important or who's
It
going to
doesn't
be
matter.
important
Yeah.
in 3 years or not.
I never really approach a situation with, I have to meet that person, because then that psychs me out also on the other end of
Yeah.
being like, I,
Oh,
I'd like for them to meet me. I'd like to say, hi, my name is, but I might not have a chance to connect with them on a one-on-one level, especially if we're in like a party situation or a show situation where there are other people vying for their attention. But
Right.
I have found that when I approach situations to really meet someone as if I was just meeting them as a friend, but in a more professional way, I try to add my silly in, because if I don't, you're probably not talking to the real Marissa. But, know your
She's pretty silly.
audience.
Real Marissa is pretty fucking silly. I'm just gonna
She's a
say that out
silly
loud.
little gal. But, the fun thing is I don't feel like I've had to change that at all to
Right.
have success or to have these connections. There are people you're going to connect with immediately, as in any situation, and there are people that
Yeah.
you're going to just have in your orbit and like maybe at arm's length. But I do try to do something memorable in situations that I'm in, where they're,
Ooh, I want to know
well,
more about that. I, you made me think that if I could just name drop for a second, I did a scene in a Steven Soderbergh TV series, and I remember watching the one of the other actors when the scene wrapped. I remember watching one of the other actors go up to Steven Soderbergh and was clearly like blowing smoke up his ass or whatever, which of course is totally warranted because it's fucking Steven Soderbergh.
no.
But Steven does his own photography. He does his own camera work. So I'm like, that dude right now is not thinking about you, buddy. He's thinking about the next scene, the next setup that he's got to accomplish. And I just sort of thought when I did Elspeth, I had such a better chance of being memorable to those people because I was nailing my job and having a good time doing it. And later, when I did connect with the director and Carrie Preston on Instagram, they were perfectly happy to have conversations with me because they did remember who I was, but they remember me because of the work that I was doing and the person that I showed up as on set. I don't know.
Well,
It's just sort of like
that's your superpower.
but
Some
it's just
people
sort of like
do it the
reading the
other
room
way.
sort of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
which way you do it. It's either you meet them first and then they get to see what you do, or they get to see what you do and then you get to meet them. No matter
Yeah.
which, order it's in, you just want to have a good person that works hard on each end.
So something that you just talked about, and I kind of want to dig into it a little bit. You were saying you're talking about how you like to give silly Marissa a chance to show up because that's the genuine person that you are. Real talk, do you have like a set little snippet that you throw in there that's is going to create the impression that you want to create, or do you improvise it every single time?
There's no set. I wish I could be like, hold on, let me sing it to you. No. It usually involves some sort of Long Island accent. I don't know. It just comes out. That's where I'm from.
What about in the audition room? Do you have like intro lines, exit lines?
No, but um I think something that's very important to note when you are auditioning, and another thing that when I am coaching, we work on walking in and out of the room, because that is something that gets overlooked so
You
much
got
in this
snaps for that.
world.
Snaps.
So much in this world, because the audition starts the second you walk in, and the audition
Hmm.
doesn't end till the door closes. And we
Right.
forget that, because sometimes we walk in and then we turn on, and then we finish and then we turn off, and they're watching us. They want to
Yeah.
see who we are when we walk in, and the confident, or even if it's a crappy audition, how we use our skills to walk out of the room. And I tend to, we all have to kind of turn it on and be like, "Hi, how are you?" Which is my least favorite part of the whole game. But I try to walk in as Marissa. I'm like, "Hey guys,
Right.
what's up? Thank you so much for having me." Always kindness to the accompanist when you're talking, and I do have, like a set way that I speak to the pianist. Which we have all learn what's the best way to set your tempo, set your entrances,
Yeah.
set your cuts and
Yeah.
things like that. And then when I'm
Yeah.
leaving, it's just a thank you so much, because what I have learned is that, especially when I'm on stage as Marissa, if I'm doing like a concert or a nightlife, a friend of mine taught me that you walk in and say you're welcome versus saying thank you, because it's a privilege on their end as well to see our preparedness. And not in like a you're welcome, in a you're welcome for what I'm about to give you. I hope it's what you're looking for, but I'm really proud of the work that I put into it. So
100%. If this is the shirt you want to buy today, that's great. If it's not,
absolutely.
that's great. You can put it back on the rack and it's nobody got hurt, you
Yeah.
know? I have said this before on this podcast, and I will say it again. I open that door and I say, "Hello, friends," and I mean it because I know that I'm meeting my community. I'm meeting my people, whether or not they want this version of the shirt that they're looking for.
Hmm.
That's out of my control. All I can do is present the finest quality shirt that I have.
That's such a great way to put it. I tend to put it as like a pasta sauce. When you walk into a supermarket, there's 40 pasta sauces that look exactly the same, that are at similar price points and probably have similar tastes. Why do people choose one over the other?
Well, now I'm hungry.
I know.
Are you ever trying to impress anyone?
I mean, aren't we all? It's just like we're all trying to impress. But I think I psych myself out when I'm actively trying to impress someone, because I think being impressive comes from natural confidence. So when I'm doing the thing that I'm normally doing in front of a person that's either someone I met at the grocery store or Steven Soderbergh, I want to
Yeah,
give the same performance. I mean, knock on some sort of wood, that it tends to work no matter who I'm speaking to, because
right.
it's a real human being. And I think sometimes we really lack that in this
Yeah.
business, is that real connection, those real human beings. Like, I don't want the glam version of you all the time. I want the pajamas, eating pizza, probably crying over a significant other version, because that's when the real person comes out. Obviously, I'm not going to always get that with everyone I meet, but I have found that my most impressive moments are when I'm probably not trying.
Going a step further with that, do you have like a standard follow through, like particularly after an audition or a meeting or a casting or whatever, where you've been able to do an in person? Do you have a follow through or a thank you procedure, or does it vary from situation?
It varies. I think when I first started out in the business, there was like a whole thing of like, send them a thank you. I had like comp cards I would mail to them, and you know,
Oh my God, remember the comp card? Do they still
yeah,
exist?
I have one. It's like a
Oh
picture
my
that I would
God.
like never use as a headshot, and it's on like a little, but everything's so, digital now, that I
Right.
rarely get to use them. I think it just depends on the connection with the people that I made in the room. If it's people that I already know or I've worked with before, I would have like a personal connection with, feeling comfortable doing that. If it's someone I
Yeah.
don't, it really depends. I think you kind of have to test the temperature of personally contacting someone in our business,
Yeah.
kinds of things like that,
Yeah.
especially when it goes through your agent and things like that. But if it's someone I know or someone that I have worked with before, I will absolutely just be like, thank you for seeing me. That was so fun and so wonderful. And your face brought a smile to mine.
Here's a real talk question. Have you ever done those networking opportunities, like a meet a casting director, pay for play sort of situation where you pay, what I don't even know what they are now, but like to audition, what are they called? They call them
Yeah, they're
classes or
I
whatever.
I know what you're talking about. They are technically pay for play, but I know that that's kind of like a, they don't like when you call it that. I've never done it personally,
Okay.
but I think, especially these days in this world, they're kind of wonderful, because so many of these people, young, old, agents, non-agents, connections, non-connections, there's so many people in this business right now that
Mhm.
not everyone gets to be seen. I tend to give the advice that if it is someone who is on your radar, that is casting things that you feel very right for, that you can't get in front of, go. I do say, be careful with your budget, because we can easily spend our entire life
Right.
savings on classes and things like that. And I think that is absolutely wonderful. But there are so many out there that I do think you have to be specific with your choices. But I,
Right.
I kind of think they're wonderful, because they do get to see you in such a individual and intimate light, especially if they're multiple days, that you get to show them so much of you.
Oh, right. Yeah, 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 yeah. They actually really do get to know you. And I mean, my sort of rules about them are sort of like, A, be the best person they will see all day. I guess, yeah, B, don't, stick to your budget, like figure out what your budget is for that. There's a sort of a philosophical thing, but the other thing for me is that they do work. Like I've been called into a TV casting because I went to a pay for play for a casting director, but only if you're going to be the best person that they see all day. If
Well,
you're memorable
sure.
for
Yeah.
the right reasons. You actually must be a person that people want to connect with, build relationships with. Do you ever feel like you're being pitched to? What are some red flags that crop up for you?
I don't. right now, look at them as red flags. Right now in my career, it's very cool to have people think that I can help them with something, because so many people helped me in this world and gave me so many
Yeah.
opportunities, that being in a situation now where I can give others opportunities is kind of wild. And I love it because we're like, I
I was
can
gonna
give
say that
back.
sounds
Yeah,
so joyful to
it
me.
is
That
so
sounds like a
joyful because I've been able to recommend people who have recommended me, and recommended people who were like me, who, didn't have a ton of experience, and maybe people didn't know, and they were like, oh, this person, look at her. But yeah, there are, it's like when anything good happens to you in your life and people come out of the woodwork and you're like, huh, and it's the way people phrase things. I always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. If you're coming out of
right,
nowhere and being like, "Hey, can you tell this person I'm great?" I'll be like, "So, hello, it's good to see you."
right.
But if it's someone saying, "Hey," I've had a lot of people be like, "Listen, I'm a silent cheerleader. I'm not really someone who comes out and posts things and screams things, but I've just been watching you from afar, and I'm so proud and so happy for you and your successes, uh-oh,
Ooh.
censored, um, successes, um, and people like that are just like, hey, if you ever need someone to sing with, or hey, if you're ever not available for something and I happen to be right for it, I'd love to send you something, of me doing the thing that you might need me to do. And then I'm always
That's a
like,
great idea.
send away, because if I know what you do, I can help you. If you are just simply coming out of nowhere and being like, give me your job if you don't need it, I'm going to be like,
Well, for in your case, it's be like, well, join the line, join the queue,
well,
you know?
yeah, and so there are some red flags. It's just people who don't normally talk to you, or don't normally connect with you, or don't normally in the social media world comment or like or do things like that, that only come out when really cool things are happening. I
Right.
definitely have like a little bit of offense. It's not like, barbed wire,
Open
but there's
borders. You're not open
offense.
borders, you're building a wall. No.
I will not build a wall. There's a door, but the wall is up.
I am dying to hear in your fancy world, can you pinpoint opportunities where you made a connection with somebody and it's led to joyful, happy, successful moments in your career?
That's honestly been pretty much my entire career, which is crazy. Most of my career has been based on connections I've made with people who have
Yeah.
liked, for some reason, liked working with me and have recommended me again. And I think that that's the life lesson, is it's like, do great work, be very prepared, be nice,
Show up as
and
the
be
person you wanna
nice,
be. Yeah, yeah.
and
Show up as
be,
the person that
yeah. I'm gonna say it over and over. I would hire, as if we were talking about hiring, I would hire kind over talent every time, because you can
Right,
teach talent, you can't teach kindness. In my situation, there have been, multiple times where, we all say like right place, right time. It is true, but it also is the right place, right time with the right people. Like, I
right.
didn't just happen to be there. But there have been times in my career where I've, done a gig that I was recommended for, and someone saw me and they were like, "Could you do this next thing with me? Can you do
Okay,
this
name
next
drop.
thing?"
Who are we
Oh,
talking about?
I was waiting for you to do this. So I did my first summer stock with a director named Stephen Nakami. I had no resume credits, and he made me his assistant dance captain. And when I moved to New York, he put me in literally like every reading that he ever did. And then even when I wasn't in a reading, he would let me come assist him. It was very cool. And then I've had composers that no matter what the show that they create, they've put in some sort of part for me to learn how to do
Oh,
developmental work, which has been my bread and butter for the majority of my career. Jeff Thompson, who's an amazing person who writes musicals, put me in about 9 of his musicals. Like, just learning how to do studio work, learning how to do developmental, learning how to do readings, meeting fancy people. And then my best friend Jessica Vosk was making an album, and her music director was one Mary Mitchell Campbell, who, if you don't know who she is, come out from the rock that you're sleeping under, because
seriously, get to
Broadway
know me.
royalty.
Right,
And she always tells the story of how I was afraid of her, and I say was, still am, thank you. Um, and we went to her apartment to work on like background vocals for Jessica's album. And it was me and my best friend Marty. And Marty and I had been singing together for millions of years. And we have kind of a language, you know how like twins have a language, like you just look at each other and we have a vocal language, like a musical language.
Right.
And so we didn't know if we were learning parts or making up parts or whatever. Jessica's a brilliant musician who knows what she wants. Mary Mitchell's a brilliant musician who knows what she wants. We are very good, hopefully almost brilliant as them musicians who know what we want. So
Yeah.
we were just going through a song, and her back was to us. Mary Mitchell's back was to us, and we were kind of listening to something and creating something. And we did something, and then we stopped for a second, didn't talk, and then created a whole different arrangement where we just stacked our vocals differently. And she gave a fast turnaround, like, who are you people? And it was a moment in time where she felt like we were able to do things that she wanted without her having to ask. And then that relationship became like my life changer. She
Right.
has hired me for hundreds of millions and thousands of things since then.
Because you already knew Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly, you did a reading or something with Jessica. That's how you met Jessica?
Oh, we just did a concert together, like a
A
random concert
concert.
in a basement of a theater. And we were singing some hard music, and we both picked it up really
Oh, and you
quickly.
were a ring in. You were like called in at
Yes,
the to
last
replace
minute.
somebody,
Mm-hmm.
like a last minute ring in, and it was really difficult material, and you picked that shit up because you're what? Marissa fucking Rosen.
God
And
bless you.
but I mean, it is that sort of thing of like, A, be the best person in the room, but also like show up as your best self, like be
Yeah.
kind, be the person that people want to work with.
But that's kind of exactly the thing, especially with Mary Mitchell, was like, she has people talk to her all the time. And it was like, talk with your actions. You know what I mean? In that moment, I
Yeah.
wasn't going to be like, can you sing me up a scale and see how talented I am? You know what I mean? Like, no. Like, it was just a moment in time where I got to do what I do because I'm a music nerd. And I was like, oh, this is literally what I do in my bathroom, and I get to do it for money. And now I get to do it for more money with her and different artists. And it's just miraculous where the world brings you to the thing that you probably really wanted to do that you didn't think you could make a living doing. After you're trying to do the thing that was the only thing that you wanted to do, the world has a funny way of just kind of bringing you little
Like,
gifts when you're not looking.
like the thing that you were efforting towards suddenly shows up in a way that you did not expect.
Yeah, I get to like live my best life and my dreams doing the thing that like nerdy Marissa was doing in her car. Is very special, and it's not lost on me ever.
Just going back to that point about showing up as the person who can deliver the goods and be a kind person at the same time, I'm literally just thinking the next job that I'm about to go into fell into my lap. It was a job I did not audition for. And it was because I've done a couple jobs with this director before. So the director I'm talking about is Danny Goldstein, who's a fantastic, brilliant, hilarious guy. But it's not like I can pinpoint a moment where I thought to myself, oh, I need to make a good impression on Danny Goldstein because he's a, fancy director or whatever. It wasn't like I ever made an effort to try to network with him or build a relationship with him that was going to make me memorable. It was just a situation where we had worked together a couple of times and I had done good work that I was proud of and he enjoyed. And I also just show up as myself, which is, I do try to show up as the person that people want to work with, and that combination of things was enough to build a connection, a relationship between the two of us where, yeah, it's somebody, I guess somebody dropped out of this project and he's like, oh, we can use Benjamin.
That's exactly right.
There are situations when you're not trying to network, but it happens anyway because you're just being your authentic self.
But that should be it all the time. If you take the networking out of it completely, how are you approaching being seen in this business, being a respected member of this society while still being yourself? That's going to be in performance. That's going to be in auditions. That's going to be at parties. That's going to be backstage to your dressers. That's going to be at the networking event. Not everyone's going to be a big personality. Not everyone is going to meet you and want to be your best friend, and that is absolutely okay,
Right.
because the people
It's not
that
going to
you're
stop them from connecting you with a project that they're working on in the future.
absolutely not in your
Yeah.
world. Just to pin it, we think about all the things we think we bombed, auditions or
Yeah.
meetings or things like that. And then you find out that you're either booked that job or you get to work with that person again in the future, or they seek you out when they see you at a
Very that.
restaurant and you're like, Oh my God, I stressed out over nothing.
Very that.
Yeah, that's it. Just be you and be nice. Be nice. I don't know if I said be nice enough. If you like to do a be nice count, be nice.
Take a shot every time Marissa says be nice.
Woo!
Thank you so much for joining this conversation, Marissa.
Thank
This
you
has
for
been
having
such a
me.
real treat. And please, if you've enjoyed this conversation, drop us a comment if you're watching this on YouTube, or send us a DM on the Instagrams, because we love taking questions and finding out what is it that you would like us to talk about.
Yeah.
In fact, Marissa Rosen, don't be a stranger. Am I ever going to see you again?
I'm at your house right now.
Oh, hey!